Have you ever mapped out a study strategy on a Sunday night, full of hope, only to give it up by Tuesday? Maybe you told yourself, this week will be different. Perhaps you highlighted your books, tidied your desk, and even set hourly alarms on your phone. But when it was time to sit down and actually do the work, you grabbed your phone instead. One video turned into 10. 1 hour became 3, and by the time you looked up, it was midnight. Nothing had been finished. You are not lazy. You are not unintelligent. You are simply stuck in a pattern that no one ever showed you how to break. This is the story of a student who struggled, not from a lack of smarts, but because he never truly grasped what discipline means. And it tells of one quiet habit that changed his whole life. Stay with me until the very end, because what you are about to hear might be the most crucial lesson you will learn as a student. In a medium-sized city with a well-known university, there lived a 20-year-old student named Elias. Elias was the type of person people called smart but inconsistent. His high school teachers had said it. His entrance exam score was pretty good. His parents thought he had real promise. But in his second year at university, Elias was slowly failing. Not in a big way. He had not failed any exam completely, but his grades were dropping. His homework was always handed in at the last moment, rushed and not deep enough. He sat in classes but learned almost nothing. He studied in intense bursts, 2 wild days before an exam, then nothing for weeks. And every Monday, without fail, Elias would create a new plan. His notebook was full of them. Color-coded schedules, blocked-out subjects, daily goals written neatly. Plans so detailed and hopeful they could have been made by a top student. But by Wednesday, the plan was forgotten. By Friday, he was behind again. His roommate, a calm engineering student named Oliver, would sometimes glance at Elias's desk, covered with half-read books and old notes, and say nothing. But his look showed everything. Elias's father called every Sunday evening. "How are your studies?" he would ask in a voice that tried to sound relaxed, but was not. "Good, Dad, I am keeping up," Elias would answer. It was never true. His father worked long hours at a simple shipping company, and he had spent years working extra time to pay for Elias's university costs. He never said it out loud, but Elias felt it every time they spoke. __quote _3__. The thing that bothered Elias most was not his grades. It was the growing distance between who he thought he was and who he actually was, every day. He imagined a version of himself who was disciplined, focused, someone who sat down to work and simply worked. Someone who did not need to feel motivated to open a book. But every day that version of himself seemed further away. He did not know that the gap between those two people had a name, and that closing it needed something far simpler and far harder than a new plan. The problem arrived quietly, as it always does. Mid-semester exams, for a subject Elias had told himself he understood, economics. He had attended most of the classes. He had the slides. He had started studying 4 days before. But 4 days of worried, unfocused studying is not the same as 4 weeks of steady daily practice. He sat in the exam hall and looked at the first question. He knew the topic. He had read it. But the exact words, the clear reasoning, the confidence to write, they were not there. He left 2 questions almost completely blank. 2 weeks later, the results arrived. He passed, but just barely. His score placed him in the bottom 1/4 of his class. His academic advisor sent him a short, formal email. __quote_4__. Elias sat with his phone in his hand for a long time after reading that. He was not angry. He was not even sad. He was tired. Tired of starting over. Tired of his own excuses. Tired of being someone who planned to be disciplined but never actually was. That evening, he stayed late in the university library, not to study. He did not even open a book. He just sat in the quiet, watching other students work. Some of them were there when he arrived at 7 in the evening. When he was about to leave at 9, they were still there. Not frantic, not stressed, just working steadily, calmly. An older man, a university librarian in his late 50s named Mr. Warwick, noticed Elias sitting without books, staring at nothing. He walked over quietly and set down a cup of water from the nearby cooler. "Quote 5?" the librarian asked. Elias looked up, surprised. "Quote 6. Quote 7. Mr. Warwick said simply. Quote 8. Elias did not plan to talk for long, but something about the librarian's calm, unhurried manner made it easy to be honest. He told him everything, all his hopes, all his routines. He spoke of the gap between the person he wanted to be and who he really was each day. Mr. Warwick listened without saying a word. When Elias finished speaking, the librarian was silent for a moment. Then he reached for a bookshelf nearby. He pulled out a thin, old book. It was a journal, not a school book. He opened it to a page full of small, dated notes. He slid it across the table. Quote 9, he said. Elias read it. The date was 22 years ago. The note simply said, quote, 10. He turned the page. The next day, quote, 11. The day after, it was the same. It was the same for weeks, for months, for years. Mr. Warwick asked. Elias shook his head. He tapped the journal. Elias looked at the journal. He said. Mr. Warwick almost smiled. Elias asked. Mr. Warwick took a piece of paper. He wrote 3 lines. He said. He continued, quote 23, quote 24, he finished, quote 25, quote. Elias wrote it all down slowly. Quote 26, quote, he asked. Quote 27, quote. Mr. Warwick replied. Quote 28, quote. He looked at Elias steadily. Quote 29. Elias left the library that night with no new plan. He made one clear decision. 1 hour every evening at 7. No exceptions. The first week held a surprise. It was not painful, just very ordinary. He sat down at 7. He opened his economics book. He studied. At 8, he stopped. He made a mark on a paper taped to his wall. No big celebration. No feeling of change. Just the mark. The second week was harder. On Wednesday, his friends watched a movie in the common room. The sound of their laughing came down the hallway. His phone lit up with messages. 7 o'clock arrived. Elias closed his door. He opened his textbook. He studied for 1 hour. He was not happy about it. He did not feel like doing it. He felt a little annoyed. But he made the mark. Something shifted around day 18. It was a subtle change, not sudden. He sat down at 7 and realized he had been waiting for 7 o'clock. Not excitedly, but in the same way you wait for something that simply belongs in your day, like dinner or sleep. His roommate Oliver walked past his open door one evening. He looked in and said, "You are always at that desk at 7 now." "Yeah," Elias said, and went back to reading. It was the first time he had described himself so truly. By week 5, that daily hour had built something he had not expected. It was understanding. Not hurried, worried learning, but slow, steady grasping of ideas. Concepts that had confused him in classes began to make sense. He started to ask better questions in his study groups. The quality of his schoolwork improved. Not a huge change, but clear to see. He went back to the library sometimes. Mr. Warwick would nod at him from across the room. No long talks, just the nod. It was a sign between two people who understood what true work really meant. In week 8, Elias broke the chain. His father became sick for a short time. He traveled home and back again. It was nothing big, but he missed 2 study times. When he sat at his desk, he saw a blank space on his calendar. He looked at it for a long time. Then he drew 2 marks there. He did not act like he had not missed. He showed that he had come back. Then he sat down to study. He told Mr. Warwick about it later. The librarian just said, "Good. Good that I missed," Elias thought. "Good that I came back." Most people stop when they miss once. They use it as a reason to give up forever. Elias did not. The final tests came. Elias felt the same when he walked into the room. He had the same worries. He was not sure how he would do. But when he read the first question, the answers were already there. They had been built up, little by little, over 90 days. He had studied for 1 hour each day. He wrote steadily and answered everything. His final grade put him in the top third of his class. He was not the best student, but he really got better. This change came from inside him. It was not just from a lucky test. He called his father that night. "How did the tests go?" his father asked. His voice was always careful. "Really well, Dad," Elias said, and this time it was true. A week later, Elias went to the library. He put the old notebook back on Mr. Warwick's desk. "Did it work?" the librarian asked. "Yes, but not how I thought it would." Elias stopped. He thought hard work would feel strong, like a big power, but it just felt calm. It was just there. Mr. Warwick nodded slowly. "That is exactly what it is," he said. "It is not a feeling of power. It is a quiet plan you built. And now, it is yours, my friend." Elias's story is not about being a genius. It is not about studying 12 hours a day. It is not about being perfect. It is about one thing. This one thing makes students get better. It separates them from students who stay stuck. It is about showing up every single day, even when it feels like nothing special. Here is what most students get wrong. They wait to feel like doing something. They wait to feel good. They wait for things to be perfect. But feeling good is just a feeling, and feelings come and go. Hard work is like a house, and houses stand even when feelings are not there. The rope Mr. Warwick talked about is real. 1 hour every day at the same time is one simple thread. Tomorrow, another. Next week, 7 threads. Next month, 30. After 1 school term of this, you will have built something. No test can take it away from you. Here is where you start. Step 1. Pick one subject. Just one. Choose a certain time each day to study it. Not when I feel ready. A specific hour. Written down, not changed. Step 2. Start with 45 minutes. Not 2 hours, not for as long as you can. 45 minutes, done completely. Stop on time. Keeping a promise is better than a long study time. Step 3. Mark every study time. A cross on a calendar, A simple check in your notebook. Build this chain. Then keep it safe. You do not need a new plan. You need to practice. And every practice starts with one session, the one you do today, whether or not you feel like doing it. If this story touched you, share it. Share it with a student who is tired of starting over. Maybe this is what they need to hear. Until next time, show up today. That is enough.